Hello, we are on our day 2 of learning our dot plots and stem and leaf and frequency tables week. We're going to be doing 2 problems, one dot plot and one stem and leaf. Okay, number 1 says the 4th graders in Mrs. Taylor's class measured their long jumps. This frequency table shows the data. So right here you notice you've got your number of students, and you've got the number of feet that they jumped. So one student jumped 3 3/4, 3 jumped 4 feet, 5 students jumped 4 1/4, 4 students jumped 4.5 feet, 5 students jumped 4 3/4, and 2 students jumped 5 feet. So our question is, which dot plot represents the data in the table? So we're going to want to match this data to one of these dot plots down here. So I'm going to start off by looking at all these labels. So first of all, you notice they all say distance and then in parentheses feet, which means these numbers should represent what this is. Now you notice in A, all they're doing is copying the data from number of students. Well, is that what we're looking at, number of students? We're supposed to be looking the distance in feet. So what should be labeled is the distance feet. So we should see these numbers, not the number of students. So this would be actually incorrect. So let's move on just because we want to see, look at the other ones. Now let's look at B. B starts off with 3, and you notice that it skips 1, and it's between 3 and 4, the one that it skips, which means that middle part should be 3.5. So you've got 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5, 5, then 5.5. Well, if those bottom numbers represent the distance down over there, that means we should be starting off at 3 3/4, not 3. And we didn't have any students that jumped 3 feet. This is not an about or an estimation. This has to be what it's stating here. So B would be incorrect because we had no students that jumped 3 feet, and we had no students that jumped 3.5 feet either. Let's move on to C and D. Now 3, you notice that it skips in increments 2, and it doesn't necessarily have them labeled, but we've got to make some deductions as to what these mystery numbers could be, even though they're not labeled. Now, what information I do know is that this goes from 4, and this next one that's labeled is 4.5, which means that these increments from here to here are in fourths. So this is 4, this would be 4 1/4, this would be 4 1/2, this would be 4 3/4, and this would be 5, which leaves this one right here. Now, if I take off or subtract 1/4 from 4, then what I get is 3 3/4. So this is 3 3/4, 4, 4 1/4, 4.5, 4 3/4, and 5. Now you notice that D has them labeled that way too. So these look almost identical. Now let's look at the data on there. So number 1, well, the first part right here, you've got one student that jumped 3 3/4. So both of these are correct. We have 3 students that jumped 4 feet. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So far, so good. We have 5 students that jumped 4 1/4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So far, that checks off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So far, that also checks off. Now let's look at 4 1/2. We had 4 students, so I should have 4 dots. So right here at 4 1/2, I have 1, 2, 3, 4. And over here, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, this right here is incorrect, as we should only have 4 dots. Now the next one is 5 students. 5 students at 4 3/4. So at 4 3/4, which is this one and this one, I should have 5 students or 5 dots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's still right. And right here, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So this still is incorrect. So we found 2 errors in D so far. And then 5 feet should have 2 students. 2 students, 2 students. Now the only table that matched this was C. So what you are going to do is you are going to draw a circle on your answer choice. So what you should be able to see is when you are on your edit mode, you should be clicking this button, click on shapes. Now, if you'd like to click on arrows to point to C, that is okay. I prefer circles. You are going to draw a circle and it is just going to sit there. Now you can leave it with the fill in gray, or you can click on this little like paint can and click on transparent and you can see your letter that way. You can also click on this right here to give it a different color. If I want it red, it'll make it red. It's up to you. Okay, so for the next slide, we are going to be talking about the stem and leaf. Let's look at this here. Okay, for our stem and leaf, we notice that we have a table right here. Now this says the weights of the dogs at the Kennel Club are shown below, which stem and leaf plot displays the same data. So these are the weights of the dogs, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 dogs that they weighed. So we should have 15 numbers, but you notice that they are all out of order. So the first step to do when you've got a table like this is to put them in order. And you're going to have to grab a sheet of paper and let's list these in order. I'm going to put myself in edit mode. So over here, what I would do is I would simply cross off the ones that I'm going to use. So I'm going to start with the lowest number. Now looking at these, my lowest number that I see is 55. I have only one 55. Then I see 57. And then I see 59. So I would write them down, 55, 57, 59. And I'd cross these out as I went. Should you have a pen and paper, it would be easy to cross them out. And then I'd move on to my 60s. And when I go to 60, I see that my smallest number is 63. Then it's 65. Then it's 67. And then I've got two 68s. So I would cross those off just to make sure I don't use those numbers again or don't count them twice. Then I'm going to go 70s and I've got 170. I've got I believe there's another one, 372. So 1, 2, and 3. And I'd write that down 3 times, 72, 72, and 72. And then the next number is 74. Then it's 76. So cross that out. And then 79. Now, once I look at my list, I have a total of 15 numbers. Now let's look at our answer choices. So this one right here says I've got 55, 57, but it says I've got two 59s. And from what I wrote down, I only have one 59. So this is counting an extra 59. That's incorrect. Then I've got 63, 65, 67, and I do have two 68, so that's correct. I've got 70, but here it says I have two 72s when I have 1, 2, 3 72s. So I'm missing a 2 here. I do have 74, 76, and 79. This is incorrect for the things it's missing and the extra 59 it has. The next one is H. Now let's look at this. We've got 55, 57, 59, 63, 65, 67, and 68, but we're missing the second 68. We're missing one right there. This one has 70. We should have 372. So I should missing two twos right here. So this answer is also incorrect. The next one is G. Now we've got 57, but what happened to 55? That's missing a 55. And this one says we have two 57, 57, 57, 59. So this right here, I can mark off right away, knowing that it is incorrect. And I notice that it's also missing the second 68 and the other two 72s. Now this last one has 55, 57, 59, 63, 65, 67, 68, 68, 70, 72, 72, 72, 74, 76, and 79. And J would be our correct answer. So I'll put in my little circle to circle that, and I'll make it transparent. Now, one thing that you can also look at is if I count all of these leaves right here, this should tell me the total number over here. So right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So I've got 15 numbers here, so that's the correct number. Like we've got 15 numbers here, but look at this one. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We have only 12 numbers that we're representing. Now we should have 15 numbers. And this one right here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. This stem and leaf plot is only representing 11 numbers. Now again, we should have 15 numbers that we are representing. If you have any more questions, make sure that you leave a comment on your presentation.